Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 12 o'clock on a Sunday, which means it's time for a Q&A. Now, this is where I take all the questions that you've asked over the course of the week and I try to answer them to the best of my ability. Now, there's a few things that you need to know. First of all, I am not in the UK. I'm in a hotel room over in Sacramento. I'm here for a week filming with Murphy's Magic, which is super fun. I got here last night. It's currently 4 a.m. in the morning. I'm jet lagged. I can't sleep. So I thought this would be the perfect time to do the Q&A while I can't sleep. So if I'm not in the normal studio, that's why. I apologize very much. Second of all, you're getting my raw, unfiltered opinions. I don't prep these questions at all. If I think a question needs a longer answer, I'll make a separate video about it at some point in the future. Outside of that, you want to try and get the questions in by a Monday or a Tuesday. I typically film these on a Monday and a Tuesday. Today it's Wednesday because I've been prepping to go to the States, but typically it's a Monday or a Tuesday. If I miss your question, I'm very, very sorry. I ask it down below on this video and I'll get back to it the following week. With that being said, there is one more thing to say, which is thank you so much for being a part of the channel. As you know, I'm going through a lot of stuff at the moment, and honestly, it would be very easy for me to just stop making videos for 6 months and just go, let me go through all the stuff that's going on and then come back to Magic TV. It'd be so easy, so much easier for me to do that. But I don't. And the reason I don't is because of you guys and the support you've shown. And that, more than ever now, means the world to me. So genuinely thank you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate every one of you. Now, with that being said, it's 4 a.m. I'm in Sacramento. Let's do it. It's time for this week's Q&A. So the first question is from Donald Wright, who said, love the exposed video on Chop. Have you explored using this Chop pen with the Rattle dice? Thanks for all you do. Since I've discovered your channel, I've reignited my passion for Magic. Can't wait to the gaff deck. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And that's what I was talking about earlier on. You know, if I can, like, inspire somebody, if one video that I make causes someone to take their magic in a different direction or reignites their passion for magic, then regardless of what's going on in my life, it's absolutely worthwhile. In terms of Chop, I'm glad you liked it. I'm going to be doing a few more videos on Chop and some of my other back catalogue. And yes, I have played around with Chop and Rattle dice. It's quite an interesting combination, actually. And one of the videos I've got planned, you must be psychic, one of the videos I've got planned is sort of Chop collaborations, which is different tricks on the market that you can actually use Chop with in order to create something completely different. And Rattle dice is absolutely on that list. In terms of the gaff deck, that is why I'm here, my friend. This is why I'm here, or one of the reasons I'm here. I've got, like, I think 5, maybe 6 projects that I'm filming while I'm here. But the big one is the gaff deck project. So it's coming soon. It's coming soon. It's me being here is the final piece of the puzzle. So thank you very much for your support, and I'll catch you soon. Okay, so the next question is from Munching Snorlax, who says, hi Craig, thanks so much for the video. You're more than welcome. I'm not sure if you're familiar with John Bannon's Stranger's Gallery trick. I love that trick, and while it's no magician fooler, it fries audiences every single time. However, I find the method taught to force the selection incredibly unnatural. Could you suggest some ways in which I could force a card in this situation whilst hiding the back colour of the deck? Thank you very much. Okay, I think we can do this. If I move the laptop and I bring it down here, I have a deck of cards, so let's see what we can do. Brand new deck, opened for your pleasure. So here's the thing. I love Stranger's Gallery. It's one of my favourite tricks of all time. Stranger's Gallery is absolutely amazing, and I have performed it for probably the best part of 2 decades since learning in Smoke and Mirrors. And I will happily show you another way of doing what you want to achieve. But I do have to tell you, I disagree that the force is unnatural. I really do think it looks great. So the force you're talking about is, let's say this entire deck is blue and this top card is red, right? Let's just say this top card is red. The force you're looking at is this. Look, I'm going to go down through the cards. Just say stop anytime you want to. Oh, you want to stop right there? Okay, fantastic, no problem. Let's look at the card that you stopped at. That one right there. this will be the card. Boom. And you force the original top card of the deck. I personally do not think that looks suspicious. I think that the bevel force, I think that's what John calls it, the bevel force is great. And the reason is they can genuinely stop anywhere they want to. And wherever they stop, you're going to be able to flash a red back card there, and then you're going to be able to give them that card. So I think that the bevel force is great. However, if you're wanting other ways of doing that, you've got this card on top. You're not wanting to show any other card in the pack because this is the only one that's that red color, right? So the first way of doing it is to do a face-up riffle force. So you've got the card there. You can get a break above the bottom card. So you turn the deck face up. So turn the deck face up, get a break above the bottom card. With your thumb, cut half the cards over, hold a break, and now just riffle force. Just say, look, I'm going to go through the deck, just say stop. And wherever they say stop, you can cut at that point, and you can flash the back of this card, and you can say, this one here, the 2 of clubs, is that the one you want? Yeah. And that's one way of doing it. You can use that same thing to do a timing force. So you can get a break above that bottom card, cut about 3/4 of the deck. Sorry, no, other way around, sorry. Cut a quarter of the deck. So you can hold that break, cut a quarter of the deck. So you've got a break about 3/4 of the way down. Now you can do a face-up a face-up timing force. So you can say, look, I'm going to cut cards onto the table. Anytime you want to, just say stop. And they say stop there, and you go, oh, this one here, the 2 of clubs. And if they stopped on the next one, you'd say, okay, so you stopped here on the 2 of clubs. So a face-up timing force works really, really well. The other thing that you can do is you can get that break and not hold a break above it. So you just literally cut the deck but hold a break in the middle, and you can do a face-up classic force. So you can say, look, do me a favor, put your finger out like this, just touch a card, and boom, when they touch, they're going to get that 2 of clubs. So any one of those will work. Any one of those with the deck face up will allow you to do that. Now, because the card's here, you can do a face-up Hindu shuffle as well. So you can say, look, I'm going to shuffle through the cards. Anytime you want to, just say stop. Oh, hang on. Don't throw all of the cards on the table. I'm showing you what not to do here. So let's try that again. So the card's here, the 2 of clubs. So you're going through, and you say, look, I'm just going to go through like this. Anytime you want to, just say stop. So they say stop here, for example. And you say, so you stopped on this one here. Let's have a look at it, the 2 of clubs. And you just peel off that bottom card. So a Hindu shuffle force will do the same thing as well. Outside of that, I'm trying to think of any other way you could do it. The only other way I could think of doing it is by, could you do this? Could you pull the cards off like that one at a time? Just have them say stop. Could you do that? No, I don't think you could. I was just trying to think of another way that if you could do it that way, but I don't think you could. I don't think that would work. The only other thing that you can do, I do not have the greatest second deal in the world, but as long as I necktie, my second deal is good enough. So if you've got a decent second deal, remember that the card's on top, right? This is quite deceptive. So you can do a face, sort of a necktied second deal and say, look, I'm gonna just take cards and just deal them onto the table. Anytime you want to, just say stop. Anytime you want to, just say stop. And they say stop, and you come down and you've got this card, which is the original top card of the deck, the 2 of clubs, and you just take this card off like this and deal all the cards there. So that the second deal is kind of allowing you to see. Now, if you've got a good second deal, you can strike it back down. So you can do a strike second deal, take the card out and come back down, which probably looks a little bit more deceptive. Like I say, I've got a decent second deal. It's good enough to be got away with in the real world, but it's not the perfect second deal. But you need to necktie anyway, because if you do it like this, that's not going to be any good. So you do need to necktie. So just necktying and coming back down like this with your second deal, and then having them say stop, boom, and then when they say stop, come up here and drop these down here. That will do the same thing. That's probably your best options. I can't think of any others. There's probably others that I can't think of, to be perfectly honest, but that's the only one I can think of right now. Yeah, that's probably all I can think of right now, but there's one there. I'm sure one of those will work for you. But the bottom line is, consider using that bevel force because it's a really good force and it works really well. Okay, so the next question is from Jag Magic, who says, "Hey Craig, you keep smashing it with the products, brother. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Keep the fire, but I was curious what your thoughts are as to the most universal or best card palm for loads to various places, a wallet, a pocket, or a gum, so card to impossible location, I guess. Also, any updates that you have for the thumb tip video. Thanks again for your dedication and outreach to the community." The thumb tip video is pretty much filmed. We need to edit it. Probably when I get back, that'll be finished. I think I just need to do an outro for it. In terms of card palms, my favorite palm is just a full palm. My favorite palm is just the classic palm. That for me is always been the best palm, just this one, just the normal palm, taken into full palm, and followed closely by the Gambler's Cop. I do use the Gambler's Cop an awful lot. I think the Gambler's Cop is a great way to palm a card as well, and opens up a lot of possibilities. I've got different uses for various different palms, but I think the one that I tend to go back for all the time, and the one that I always use for card to wallet, and the one that I always use for the majority of my routines, is just a full top palm, just topping the deck, palming the card or the cards depending on how many I need. It's secure, nobody sees a thing. I can do it with one hand if I want to, and it's very versatile. Okay, so the next question is from Magi Julia. I hope you're well, my friend, who says, "Hi, Craig. I'm not going to ask if you're okay. I find you very brave and even more courageous to continue your videos on this channel. It proves how much you love the community and the magical art." I do love it. I really do. And your questions and everybody else's questions mean the world to me. I've sent you all my strength. Thank you very much, brother. I appreciate that. I didn't thank you for your answer about last week's cull. I'm going to work on that. It opens up so many possibilities. You're more than welcome. My question this week is about magic button and the button. Do you think about making a video about both routines to do with them? Yes. Yes, 100%. The button and the magic button work together really, really well. In fact, one of the reasons I got involved in the button is because I bought out the magic button project through Penguin a couple of years before. So yes, absolutely, I think that they're great. They work really well together, and I could definitely do a video on routines that combine them. I am actually doing a video on how to combine tech deck with the button. So that's something that's happening sooner rather than later. So at some point soon, I will be doing a video on the tech deck and the button, but I could do another video on the button, combining it with magic button. That's absolutely not a problem at all. You've got another question. "I'd like to learn a coins across routine with a shell. I searched on the Netrix, but I didn't find a version with a shell. Can you help me where I could learn this? Thanks in advance." You know what? That's a really good question. I don't actually think I've uploaded any videos onto the Netrix on routines with coins across specifically with a shell. That's my bad. I'm very sorry. I will do that on the next upload. So the next upload is happening when I get back from the States, and I will do a couple of different versions of the shelled coins across for you. So hold off. We've just done a whole big card magic upload, but this next one, I'll do one specifically. I'll include 2 or 3 coin magic routines with a shell. Okay? Hope that helps. Thanks again, and I'll catch you soon. Okay, so the next question is from Joe Greenslade, who says, "Hi, Craig. I want to thank you for everything you do. You're more than welcome. Thanks to your content and advice, I'm finally taking the steps to become a professional performer. You really are amazing." That is phenomenal. That is exactly why I do this channel. That is exactly why I do what I do, and I couldn't be happier. If you have any questions, just let me know. If I can help in any way, I will. And you've got 2 questions, so we'll take them one at a time. So question number 1, I'm putting together my first website, and I want to advertise myself as a stand-up comedian and magician for corporate events and a children's and family entertainer. Is it okay to advertise both of these on the same website, or should I have separate websites? I'm on a bit of a budget at the moment. Look, I'm going to be honest with you, and if you're on a budget, just do one website, absolutely. But I've always believed that if you do children's entertainment and you do more corporate stuff, you should have 2 separate websites, for the very simple fact that if you're a corporate event planner, most of the time when a corporate is organising entertainment, it's not the booker, it's not the owner or the CEO or the MD that's organising it. They've passed that on to somebody in the company who's probably passed it on to somebody else in the company, and it's their job to come up with options and find the best options that they can. if they go onto a website and they see somebody who advertises corporate close-up magic, but then on another page they're dressed as a kids entertainer performing in front of a bunch of kids, it's very easy for them, without knowing anything about you, to not use your services for that very reason. And it works in reverse as well. If you're looking for a kids entertainer for the birthday party show, for example, and you see somebody who's standing on stage in front of hundreds of people at a corporate event, you might think, well, that's outside of my budget, and not even bother contacting them. So I've always had two separate websites, one for corporate and weddings and so on and so forth, and one for children's entertainment. And I've always tried to keep them as separate as I possibly can. And I think that's the best way to go. Now, if you're on a budget, it's better to have a website than not have a website. But what I would do is I would have like a landing page as your home page. When they get onto the home page, maybe it's like family entertainment and a logo they can click on to go into the family entertainment section of the website, and then corporate entertainment and a logo they can click on to go into the corporate entertainment side of the business, so that when they're looking at corporate entertainment, they don't see any videos or pictures of you doing kids entertainment, and when they're looking for kids entertainment, they don't see any videos of you doing corporate entertainment. That would probably be the best option if you're only using one website. But I would say ultimately try to do two websites if you can. Because I think that's the better option. Okay, so Joe Greenslade has another question, which says, is it possible to go from children's entertainer to comedy stage performer like Matt King or John Archer? That's what I ultimately want to achieve, but I'm a bit concerned people in that side of the industry won't take me seriously if I'm a kids entertainer and a family magician. Sorry for the long questions. Thank you again for everything that you do. Look, yes, you can. Absolutely. Some of the best corporate entertainers that I know started off and still to this day do kids entertainment. You look at Michael J. Fitch, who travels the world doing corporate shows. He very openly and honestly says he does kids shows as well. Me, I do kids shows. Just before I went here, I did a kids show, but I do corporates and I do stand-up and I do comedy stage magic and illusion shows and God knows what. So you absolutely can. You know, people in that side of the industry won't take you seriously. First of all, you make your own luck. You make your own performance opportunities. Don't, listen to what anybody else says, including me. Go with your gut. But in all honesty, there's absolutely no reason. In fact, kids entertainers make really good Here's the thing, I'll be completely honest with you. If you want to do stand-up on stage, kids entertainers make great stand-up performers because they're used to performing on stage. They don't have the level of nerves that a normal sort of stage performer or close-up performer has. And they understand how to carry themselves on stage. They understand how to walk on stage. They understand about vocal projection. If you're going from kids entertainment to stage and you're going from close-up magic to stage, you have a bigger advantage if you're doing kids entertainment going to stage. However, there is one thing that you need to watch out for. I see a lot of kids entertainers that make that transition into stage and they struggle. And the reason they struggle is because they try to be too kiddie. That kind of over-the-top approach where it's like, hey, is everybody okay? That kind of Butlin style thing won't work in a corporate event. And I point to my friend Thomas Maloney, who you guys have seen on Magic TV a lot. And I've been coaching him a lot recently to, take his stand-up show to the next level. And he's doing amazing. He's got various different bookings and contracts and so on and so forth. That when he first started doing corporate stand-up, he was too kiddie, just like everybody was, just like I was. And you need to almost develop a separate persona. So the biggest thing that you need to be concerned about and the biggest thing that you need to take into consideration is don't allow that to happen. Don't allow yourself to be have that kids entertainer sort of over the topness. But outside of that, there's absolutely no reason why you can't make the transition. Absolutely fine. Okay, so Archie Cox has got a question. I made a list of my top 5 magic creators of all time, and I wondered what would be your favourite trick by each of them. Number 1, Craig Petty. Number 2, Spidey. Number 3, Mark Spellman. And number 4, Peter Nardi. Number 5, Jay Sankey. Dear Lord. Okay. 5th place, Jay Sankey. I'm going to give you 2 because both of them are amazing. I'm going to say In a Flash by Jay Sankey. In a Flash is great. When I worked restaurants, I did that trick probably every single day. uh, 20 times a day. I was doing like 7 restaurants a week, and I'd be just burning through flash paper because I'd be doing in a flash so much. It's got everything. It's got fire, flash paper, it's got coins, it's got cards, it's relatively easy, it's visual, it's impressive. I do very much like In a Flash by Jay Sankey. Still to this day holds up as a classic. And the other thing I'd say is the paperclip switch. He redefined the mystery card plot when he came up with the paperclip switch. And even now, with so many different options on how to do a mystery card, paperclipped is still fantastic. So I'd say paperclipped and, I'd probably say paperclipped and In a Flash. Number 4, Peter Nardi. I would probably say so much really cool Peter Nardi stuff, but I'm going to go for all the work he did with E2. The Extractor deck. I've been very open and very honest to tell people that the Extractor deck is one of my favourite decks of all time. I absolutely love the Extractor deck, always have, always will, and his work on it is brilliant. So I'd have to say the Extractor deck by Peter Nardi. Third place, Mark Spellman. Mark's got so much great material, hasn't he? I'm very much a big fan of his gallery deck. So his gallery deck really kind of helped influence a lot of the work that I was doing with specially printed decks a couple of years ago. I think that he was kind of the pioneer in that sort of era, in that sort of style of magic. And I don't think anybody else has touched him. I think that the work that he did on gallery, and I think it's a little bit gone under the radar. But I also think that not really as a marketed trick, but the stuff that he did with X and the stuff he continues to do with X is just great. He's such a performer. He's such a great performer. I still say to this day, his PK touch routine is the best PK touch routine I've ever seen. I'd say Mark Spellman would be all the work he's done with X. But if you want to know a particular trick, the gallery. Number 2, Spidey. Spidey's got some great material. He really has. And I know he's known more as a mentalist, but probably my favourite thing that I've got of his that I actually do all the time is the packet trick that he brought out last year with Richard Sanders, where you have the 4 cards that have been drawn on, and they print into the 4 kings. I think that's great. I think that's really, really good. It's such a commercial trick, and it's so easy to do. And I bought like 4 of those when it came out because I was like, I always want to be able to do this. And it's not the sort of thing that you typically think of when it comes to Spidey. But it's such a great trick. It's such a great opening trick for any situation. And as a Craig Petty, first of all, thank you that I've made the top of your list, Archie. That means the world to me. I would say Chop. Chop would be the one. Chop. I think that I go through periods of time where I don't do Chop, and then last week, a couple of weeks ago, I put it back into my set, and I've done it in about 10 shows since then, 10 walk around gigs, and it's brilliant. And I was using it in corporate gigs, and I was just using like a ceramic cup, just like a coffee cup that they had at the venue, and it's the fact that using their cup, and I do a lot of the time I use AirPods now, like you probably saw on the video on Magic TV. I think Chop is the one. I would say Chop, but it's a great question. Thanks for asking that, Archie. Okay, so the next question is D. Coleman, who says, "Hi Craig, hope you're doing well. I love your YouTube channel. Thank you very much, man. I really appreciate that. I have a question about starting to perform on a professional level. I want to know how you promote yourself to get noticed as you start doing gigs. I've tried performing at a festival and handing out business cards, but no one reached out to me. Any advice would be greatly appreciated." There's a couple of different things you can do. First of all, just be everywhere. Be absolutely everywhere. Second of all, the thing that you can do that can get you a lot of gigs initially without actually having much marketing skills or any assets to say, is approaching restaurants and getting yourself restaurant residencies. That does a couple of things. First of all, it gives you regular work. They're not the best paid gigs in the world, but it gives you regular work. It's a place where you can constantly give out your business cards over and over again. And, it's a way that you can be working on new material and so on and so forth. And, it's a great way to get noticed. Outside of that, I would put as much work into as possible to build up a social media account. Build up your social media. Try and get as many photos. Try and get as many videos as you can. Don't be afraid to do free gigs. I've talked about this before on the channel, but there's a thing that I use by Brad Burton called ACE, the ACE strategy, and I still use it to this day now. ACE stands for Assets, Cash, Experience. Whenever an inquiry comes in, you should get one of the three things from there: assets, cash, or experience. Cash speaks for itself. Assets can be anything from a link on a person's website through to your website to improve your SEO. It could be access to the photos taken by the photographer. It could be a written testimonial from them. It could be they give you the permission to bring a videographer around with you to video the event. It could be anything like that. But having assets is so important, because having those assets is going to help you build up your social media. And you can get a lot of work just by having a very active, very good social media account. Like Ryan and Thea have got a contract doing holiday parks all over the summer. And they got that contract through their social media. So really kind of spend a lot of your time. You want to get people to know who you are, start building up your social proof. Start building up reviews. Start building a website. You can set up something like a Wix website for free. You can work on it and teach yourself and educate yourself how to build up a website. And then you don't have to make it go live and publish it until it's ready and you have the money. But learning those skills are so important. Learning how social media works, learning how to post on social media to be able to get people to know who you are and what you do. All of this is so important. It really is. And it's the sort of thing that you should be focusing on right now, because it's something that you can do without spending any money. You can build up your assets without spending any money. You can build up your social media without spending any money. You can build a website without spending any money. You can put a review strategy in place, build up a Facebook account and get people to review on Facebook without spending any money. You can be getting lots of gigs and getting a lot of people to know who you are without spending a lot of money, just by putting in the time and the effort. So yeah, that's what I would do. Good luck. Okay, Stephen Devereux says, "Hi Craig, hope you're well." I am, thank you very much. Why do some apps only work with Apple? I'm not a tech person, but I have Android. Thanks, Stephen Rue. I think, I'm not an expert either, but I did speak to Mark. I did speak to Mark Kirstein about this at one point, and he said, and I actually interviewed him on Magic TV. So if you go back and you look at the Mark Kirstein Magic TV interview, you'll see me chatting to him about this. And he said Android is just difficult to work with. What you can do on Apple, sometimes you can't do on Android. It becomes a more difficult, labor-intensive thing to be able to do. I'm not an app guy either, but he described it to me as it's much easier to release something on Apple than it is to release it on Android. The other thing is, normally when you're coding something or you're putting a trick together, it's double the amount of work and probably cost if you want to make it available on Android as well. But less magicians have Androids than have Apple. A lot of magicians have Apple because of the tricks and things that you can do with an iPhone. So a lot of magicians have Apple, and massively less have Android. So if you're putting twice as much work in, you're not going to get twice as much return on investments. Not as many people are going to buy the app if it's Android related versus if it's Apple related. And a perfect example is the original Digital Force Bag before the Pro version came out. The original Digital Force Bag, when it first came out, it was Apple only. Everybody asked for it to be on Android. And so they took the time and effort to put it onto Android. And then eventually, Nick Einhorn and Craig Squires, who invented the thing, it was coded by Mark Kirstein, but Nick and Craig invented the thing. They eventually turned around and said, we're going to stop the support for Android because so few people are actually using it, and it's costing us more money to actually put it out there. And that's a perfect example. That is the perfect example, unfortunately, that, the community might ask for it, but then the support wasn't there. And I think it's because a lot of people that have Androids, they don't buy apps, and so there's less people that have Androids. So all of those different factors together, that kind of is probably the big reason. Okay, so Franz Verger says, "Hi Craig, thank you for all your inspirational videos. You're for sure one of my favourite magicians. You're more than welcome. Thank you very much. I have a question. I saw many times in your video that you're using Digital Force Bag. My question is, which version are you using, the standard or the Pro? Which is the difference? And what's the difference between the X apart from the price, of course. But I get bogged down and confused with all these different versions of Digital Force Bag. I have the original version, but I've gone pro. Now, as far as I'm aware, really the only difference between sort of, or X, whatever it is, the original version can have an extra purchasing part to it. Realistically, the only reason I got that is because I wanted to have multiple lists. Because when I got the original Digital Force Bag, I could only set up so many lists, and I could pay to have more lists. And I used, as you rightfully say, I use Digital Force Bag a lot, and I probably have about 70 or 80 lists set up that I siphon in and out of depending on the routines that I'm doing. So that's what I do. Now, Mark Kirstein released separately to Craig Squires and Nick Einhorn a version of Digital Force Bag that does a lot more. Like AI integration is built into it, and I believe the other thing that's built into it is you can have a prediction in your notes page. So I'm not too sure how that works, but you can input into the system a something or other that allows you to have a prediction. It all sounds very, very clever, but I don't really use that many apps anyway, and if I have an app, it's because I've got a very specific purpose for it, and Digital Force Bag is still the best way to force anything on the Spectator. It really is. There's no better way that I've found. So for me, I remember when Mark's new version came out, I looked at the pros and cons, and I was like, oh, that's really good. I'm not going to use it, so I'm going to save my money. I might be wrong. I know that there's some people that have got it that do use it. I know Thomas has got it. I don't know whether he uses it or not, but my friend Thomas Maloney has got it. But in terms of what I use it for, I use it for the original way that Digital Force Bag was set up, which was to force something on somebody. So hopefully that clears it all up for you. Okay, the next question is John Sotaro, who says, hi Craig, first of all I want to thank you for the incredible content you produce and everything you do for the Magic community. Regarding the legal situation, I really hope everything gets sorted in your favour soon. Yeah, well, thank you so much, and so do I. Like I say, it would be easier for me not to do these videos, but it's comments that you like yours that make it all worthwhile. So thank you so much. Let's look at your question. I've recently started performing regularly at a children's hospital. Good work. Since this is such a unique environment, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Could you recommend 5 or 6 effects that you think would work best for kids in a hospital setting? Thanks for everything and keep up the great work. So, I mean, there's lots of different ways that you can perform in a hospital. I've been into hospitals and I've done a full show. Like the kids are in a particular room, they've brought me into the room and I've done a complete show, and it's been the sort of show that I would do in any normal kids' party, just slightly adapted. And then there's you know, sometimes you go and perform at hospitals and you're literally going almost like bed to bed, ward to ward, and you're performing and spending 5 or 10 minutes at a person's bed, performing to them. I'm going to assume that is the situation you're in, because in terms of performing to a group of kids, you can do anything that you do in your normal show, just slightly adapted. But if you're performing at a kid's bed, I would make it so that it's fun, it's visual, and they can follow it very, very easily. I'd be doing sponge balls. This is where you crack out your sponge balls, as far as I'm concerned. Another really good one that's very, very magical, it's very easy to follow, is Grandmother's Necklace by TCC. That's a great one. Very easy for kids to follow. Very, very good. I'd also say Charming Chinese Challenge by Troy Hooser, because again, that's very easy for them to follow, and they can do that no problem. I'd also maybe consider some work with, dare I say it, loops or ties. Having, you know, there's so much amazing magic you can do with those things. There really is. And, you know, as much as I'm having issues with the creator of loops, I do have to acknowledge the fact that some of the stuff that he does with them is fantastic. You know, you take it, if you go to a kid's bed and they've got glasses, and you have them take their glasses off, and you just put it there on the bed, and you go, what, and you flip it over. That's real magic right there, yeah. And also takes up no space. You can just have it on your wrist and you're ready to go. Let me think. I would also say you know, rope and ring and rope would work really well. I'd probably keep away from the card tricks, and I'd probably do more sleight of hand based stuff and things like that, and just keep it really quick and really visual. But at the same time, maybe try and adapt some stuff into the performance that you know that the kids are going to like. You know, maybe do some current stuff. You know, if depending on the age of the kids, you know, K-pop Demon Hunters, Marvel, that sort of thing. Just kind of make it about something that they like, so they can visualize something that they enjoy. I think that would be very useful to do as well. I could do a video on this in the future if you want me to. Just let me know. I've got friends that regularly go and perform in hospitals, so I could go and speak to them and get some expert advice. When I make the video, I could do a bit of research into it. Just let me know. But hopefully that helps. Okay, so the next question is from Brandon Helder, who says, "Hi Craig, I'm circling back about the jumbo-sized packet offence. I would love to see suggestions for card effects that would especially be good to perform for children. Thanks again." I am really sorry I didn't do anything with that because I'm prepping to go to America, and that is terrible, and I'm really, really sorry. I do need to put that together for you, don't I? Stuff off the top of my head that you could do with jumbo cards. Twisting the aces would be a really good one. Using 4 jumbo cards, I think twisting the aces would be a really good one. If you can split the cards or you can get the gaffs, I would say some sort of version of McDonald's aces would be really good. I think that would be great, especially if you had little stands for the jumbo cards. I think having jumbo McDonald's aces would work really, really well. Again, if you can get the gaffs, cards across would work really well. Obviously, you're going to struggle to palm the cards, but there's a lot of versions where you don't require palming. You know, look at the original Las Vegas Leaper, for example. That would be by Paul Harris. That would be a great thing to do with jumbo cards. You could do that very, very easily. Obviously, it's not a packet trick, but that would work really well. Stranger's Gallery. Not Stranger's Gallery, what's the other one that he... Twisted Sisters. That's it, John Bannon's Twisted Sisters would do really, really well with jumbo cards. That would be a great thing to do. And obviously Buwave by Max Maven would be an awesome thing to do, and you can actually get that in jumbo cards. And the other thing is, create yourself a story deck, but for children, and make it in jumbo cards. So don't go down the Sam the Bellhop route. Come up with your own story deck. You know, I always advocate this for entertainers that perform for kids. Come up with a story deck, and do a story deck using those jumbo cards. I think that would be a really cool thing as well. You wouldn't even need to use a full deck. I'll come up with some more ideas for you, but hopefully that'll get you started. Okay, so the next question is from Archie Cox, who says, "Hi Craig, what is the best way to secretly get 3 cards I want to the bottom of the deck?" Okay, well, I'm assuming they're in different parts of the deck right now, right? So let's go back down to here, grab my trusty deck of cards. You need 3 cards to the bottom of the deck. Let's make it simple and say we'll use the Ace of Clubs, the Ace of Hearts, and the Ace of Spades. So the first way is to cull the cards. So I'm going to do this so you can see the cull. I'll tip them up like this. So I'm looking for the Ace of Clubs, Ace of Hearts, Ace of Diamonds. I'm not looking for the Ace of Spades. So I'm culling the cards as I go through. So as I'm going through, I'm seeing the aces, and I'm going through, the Ace of Spades I don't want, and I'm grabbing the 3 cards as I cull them through, right? So as I cull them, boom, I've now got those 3 cards to the top of the deck, which means I can now shuffle, and I can just run 1, 2, 3, and shuffle off, and those cards are now at the bottom. So we've got those cards at the bottom. Now, typically, you need a reason to go through the deck, and one of the big reasons is to take out the jokers. So let's say, you know, I don't want to use a joker for this, so I'm going to take it. I know there's 2 jokers in this deck. Let me take out the jokers. Okay, there's 1 joker, and there's my second ace. And there's my third ace, and there's my second joker. So you took the jokers out. I'm here, and now I shuffle, and I accidentally screwed up that shuffle. There you go. But the ace is there at the bottom, right? So that is one way to do it. The other way to do it is you can have a reason to go through the deck to look for something. And this is easier because you don't have to do a call. So let's say that I'm going to make a prediction, okay? Let's say I'm going to make a prediction. Or let's say I'm going to come up with the reason to go through the deck yourself. But you're going to go through the deck to take out a card, for example, or take out the jokers like we did earlier. But what you're going to do is you're going to spread through until you see the first card, and then you're going to put that down there, right? So you're going to put that down there, so that's on top. Then you're going to spread through until you see the second card, and then you're just going to deal that on the face, and you put that down there. You put that down there, but as you deal this one down, you just cut like this, and then you come back here, and I'm looking for the third card. I see the third card, and I just cut at this point. I put this here, and let's just say this is the card I'm taking out, and I put this here like this, throw these into the middle. Now I've got a situation where I've got two aces on top and I've got one ace on the bottom. So I can cut the deck like this, do a double undercut, bring those three cards to the bottom, and they're all there. Okay, and I took that card out. Now, the reason for you going through the deck, I'll leave that up to you because it very much depends on the context of the trick. Now, the other thing you can do is you can make 3 piles. So, for example, I could go through and I could say, look, I'm going to make 3 piles of cards. Okay, so I'm going to make, you say, look, I've got this deck of cards, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 3 piles of cards. And as you say that, you cut the deck so that the first card is on the face. So now you say, I'm going to make 3 piles of cards. I'm going to show you something with 3 piles. That's 1, that's 2. Oh, I think I missed a card. Oh, sorry, there you go. That's 1, that's 2, that's 3 piles of cards. And you go, you know what? It'd be so much. So now, effectively, I've got an ace on the bottom of each pile, right? And you say, actually, it'd be so much better if you made the piles instead of me, because maybe you think I'm cheating. Now I've got a break here, and I put these in to the break. So now these are both here, right? And then I get a break above the bottom 2, like that. And I put these in here above the bottom 2, which means that all 3 of them are now at the bottom. Now, the way you have to play that is you have to play it as, like, I'm going to show you something. So it'd be kind of like this. I'm going to show you something amazing with the deck of cards. Now, I'm going to make 3 piles of cards. And when I've made 3 piles, I'm going to show you something that you're not going to believe. You know what? I don't want you thinking I'm going to cheat. And a lot of the time, when I do this sort of thing, people will turn around to me and say, hang on a minute, you're cheating. And I want this to be a completely free choice. So I'm going to get you to make the 3 piles in a second. And boom, now you've got the 3 cards at the bottom. Now you can then, now those 3 cards are there, you can do another trick that involves 3 piles, and then you can come back to this and do whatever it is that you wanted to do with this. So that's a great way of doing it. The other way to do it is literally just to bluff the hell out of the situation. And what I mean is, I'm going to show you a trick using 3 cards. I'm going to take 3 cards out the deck. I'm going to take that one, I'm going to take that one, I'm going to take that one. Hang on, no. I shouldn't take 3 cards because I want you to take the cards. This should be all about you. I tell you what, you take the 3 cards or whatever you want to do, and you've literally just taken these 3 cards out. Now, you don't just have to say, oh, you take 3 cards. It could be like, let's say the cards are here. You say, look, I'm going to show you something with 3 cards. I'm going to take 3 cards out. I'm going to take this one, and this one. Actually, you know what? Before I show you that trick, I'm going to show you something else. And then I'll get back to that trick in a minute. Okay, let me do something else with you first of all. And now you've got the 3 cards. And here's the thing, the audience doesn't know what's going to happen. So because the audience doesn't know what's going to happen, they're not paying attention realistically too much. So you can get away with that very, 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 very easily. So there's a few different ways of getting the cards that you need to the bottom of the deck. Hopefully that helps, and one of those work for you. Okay, so the next question is from Michael Stager. He's got two questions. Let's take them one at a time. So, first question. There's a routine I'm trying to find and I'm having no luck. A card is chosen and signed, returned, and then seemingly ends up in a different coloured deck that's been sealed and in the performer's case. I have ideas, but I don't know if there was a resource for it. I think you're talking about Sean Farquhar's effect that he did on Penn and Teller. I know he did release it. The best thing to do is to go to Palmer Magic, but he had effectively that where a card was signed and ended up in a sealed deck in the position. I'm sure you're talking about some sort of variation of Sean Farquhar's trick from Penn and Teller. The first time he went on Penn and Teller Fool Us, and it is definitely released. Palmer Magic is his production company, so you might want to check with Palmer Magic. They might be able to help. The other person who did something similar to that is Mark Mason. Again, you might want to contact Mark at JB Magic and ask him about that. But I'm sure he bought something out very similar to that as well. But those are the two resources that I would check first. Okay, we got another question from Michael Stager who says, I love my restaurant residency, but I've noticed my coin magic isn't really playing well. Is there any advice to strengthen it or any routines that you recommend? I've heard this from people in the past. I've heard people say, I do coin magic and the coin magic that I do isn't just hitting. What is the reason for that? And I think a lot of the time it's because it's not fluid, it's not smooth. The thing with coin magic, if I'm being completely honest, is it's not easy to do. Card magic is a lot easier because there's so many different self-working tricks. But with coin magic, that's not the case at all. It's really quite hard, especially when you consider that even the simplest of tricks, you're going to have to palm a coin. Even something with a gimmicked coin, you have to palm that coin in, you have to palm that coin out. It's not the easiest thing in the world, and it's very difficult to cover bad technique. With card magic, you can kind of get away with bad technique. With coin magic, you're kind of more exposed. There's nothing to hide. Now, I'm not saying, by the way, Michael, you've got bad technique at all. But what I think that means is it means that a lot of the time magicians have magician's guilt over it. And they're focusing on concentrating on getting the moves right, and they're focusing on concentrating on their performance and getting the moves right and making sure they're not flashing and not making sure they're not messing up, as opposed to kind of delivering it in a really entertaining way. Because the bottom line is, if magic's not really playing that well, it means the audience either don't find it impressive or it's not as entertaining. Those are really the only two reasons why something doesn't work. The audience kind of see how it's done, or they don't see how it's done, but they suspect they know how it's done, or they don't find it entertaining or enjoyable, right? And coin magic is definitely enjoyable if you do it right. So I would first of all film yourself performing the routine to somebody and look back at it and go, honestly, what's my technique like? What's my performance like? And then secondly, if they're not finding it entertaining, change the way that you're performing it, change the way that you're delivering it. So if you're kind of making it more story-based, maybe go for more of a quick-fire style of thing. If you're going for a quick-fire style of thing that's not working, make it more story-driven. If I was going to recommend one trick that you should start with in the real world to get good reactions, it's David Roth's Coins Across, because the addition of a shell really helps make it very, very deceptive. And a lot of the time when you're performing close-up magic, people are trying to guess how it's done. And people aren't stupid. They understand about the ability to palm coins and so on and so forth. So by bringing a shell into the mix, you're really kind of throwing them for a six, because now they're like, well, hang on a minute, how the heck did that coin disappear? It becomes more impressive even for the people that are trying to work out what's going on. So, my advice would be start with a really strong Coins Across that happens in the spectator's hands, and really focus on that presentation. And if you are worried at all about the moves or the technique, really kind of try and put that out the back of your mind. And the only other thing that I can say, sometimes certain tricks just aren't for certain people. Like, there's certain props in magic that I just don't use because I just can't make it play. Doesn't mean it's not a prop that works for other magicians, other performers. It just doesn't work for me. So that might be the case. You don't know. I would just keep going, keep trying, and tinker with it, and ask yourself after every performance, why did that not work? Why was that not resonating with the audience? And hopefully you'll get there. Okay, so the next question is you, who says, "Hi Craig, I asked the question about moving the spectator to the right number and the numbers that don't work, and I was talking about the atomic deck." Ah, right, okay. Now I understand exactly where we're going with this. Right, so you're talking about the atomic deck. So, to catch people up if they don't know, the atomic deck is a trick that I bought out just over a year ago now, and it is my favourite version of the any card at any number plot, and it's the one that I probably perform the most, despite loving ACAN and having so many different versions. And the thing with this particular version of ACAN, as I'm sure a lot of you know, is that there's a lot of advantages. The deck's on the table. You don't pick the deck up until they've named the card and the number, and you deal directly to that card and that number. And it's done by it's done by the fact that the majority of cards will appear in the correct number due to the way that the deck's made, but there's like 23% of those cards or something like that don't work. And so there's there's three ways to get the information. The first way is the crib, which is fine. We can get back to that in a minute. The second way is through everyone visiting a website, which is what I do when I perform this to a big group of people. And in that scenario, you never have to worry about moving a spectator, because you're going to get the whole audience involved, and the majority of them will have the correct card and number, so it won't be a problem. And then the third one is using the notes page, which is what I think this person's talking about here, you's talking about. So effectively, what we are with this is somebody will name a card and a number, and there's an app that you get with the atomic deck that looks like, it really does look like a notes page. And so what happens is you put in the card, you put in the number, and it'll tell you whether the card works or not. And if it doesn't work, how far away you have to go. It tells you whether it works or it doesn't work, and it tells you if it does work, it tells you what you need to do in order to show that the card's at that number. What a lot of people don't realize, because it was updated afterwards, is there's more functionality to this app. So if you have the app, Miyu, and you open up the notes page, so first of all, you have someone name a card, okay? So they name a card. Now, when they name the card, you put it into the notes page. Now, if you hold the button at the bottom left down, it's going to tell you along the top every single number that works with that card. So you can immediately see which numbers work and which numbers won't. And most cards work with the majority of numbers, but you're going to see where the issue is there, right? That's the important part here, because you need to know what you need to do in order to make it work. Now, your phrasing is important here. So when you perform to the audience, you say, look, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to have somebody name a card. I'm going to have somebody name a number. And I like to do this to three people. So I'll say to the first person, you're going to name a card, you're going to name a number, and finally, I have a very important role for you. So I have three people involved with this. The first person names a card, okay? I hold down the button. I know what numbers will work with this card and what numbers won't work with this card. I then go to the second person and I say, right, brilliant, name a number. And they name a number. Now, I'm not typing this in yet because I'm looking along the notes page. I'm holding the phone like this as I'm talking to them, and I'm looking, and I can see at the top every single number that will work. Now, because of how the deck is made up, as I say, 75% of the time you won't have to do anything. If you do have to do something with it, this is where you kind of get the third spectator involved. So once the person's named the number, you can see how far you have to go in either direction in order to get it into the bank that will work. Because there'll always be a bank on either side, or at least unless it's a very low number, there'll always be a bank on either side. So for example, let's say they named 22, and you see that 1 to 18 would have worked, and 30 to 52 would have worked, and they're right in the middle of a bank that doesn't work, right? You know how many, you can just see how many they need to go backwards or how many they need to go forwards in order for it to work. So at this point then, it's a little, you go to the third person and you say, look, I said I had a very important role for you, and I do. because I don't want everyone to think that these two people are in on it and that I had them name that card and I had them name the number. So you're going to randomize that number at the end. And then I have one of two strategies. The first strategy is I give them an invisible die. I work out, let's say for example, there's 5, I've got to go 5 backwards in order to get into the correct bank in order for it to work. I'll give them 3 dice. And I'll say, brilliant, what I want you to do is roll these 3 invisible dice and add up the totals. And let's say it's a 2, a 5, and a 4. So 2, 5, and 4 is 11. Now I've got the phone in front of me. I now know with that 11, they can go one direction or they can go the other direction. So now I can go, do you want, so you've just rolled 3 invisible dice, you've got an 11. Do you want to take that 11 off the total they said? Or do you want to take it and add it to the total they said? So it feels really fair, like this last person is randomizing everything, but you're using that person to bring it within to the range that you need it to be brought into, if that kind of makes sense. Let's say they rolled a 1, a 1, and a 1, and it's a 3, and I need at least a 5. I'd then do one of 2 things. I'd say, right, okay, look, roll it 2 times, roll it again, roll them again, or here's another die, roll that one. You know, I just want to make it as random as possible. And then the other thing that I do sometimes is I say, I don't know you. I don't want to know the year you're born, but what month were you born? And so let's say they say, I don't know, let's say they say August. I know that's an 8. Well, and if I look at my app and I know that they need to go 8 in that direction in order to become within range, I could then go, right, okay, August, that's the 8th month, right? So let's add 8 onto your total. What was your total? 22. So 8 is 30, right? Okay. So now think about this. You've had a card, you named a number, and you took your birth month, and we've created a brand new number. So even if he was in on it, which he's not, by the way, now you've randomized it even more. And the key thing here is making it so it's completely impossible, so that you're not doing this to bring it within range for yourself, but you're doing it to make it a more impossible experience for anybody that's watching. Okay? And if the 8 doesn't work, let's say the 8 is no good and you need it higher than an 8. Let's say it's March. You go, okay, and what date in March? And let's say they say the 12th. You go, okay, 12. Let's use the 12th. I couldn't know you were born on 12th. Let's add 12 to your number. Your number was 22. What's 22 plus 12? It's, I don't know, 30, whatever it is, 30, 34. Okay, let's do that. But let's say it's a small date of birth. Let's say it's March the 10th. You could add those 2 together. So March 10th plus March is the 3rd month. 10 plus 3 is 13, right? Let's add 13 onto your number. Or let's say it's the 1st of January and it's only a 2 and you need at least a 5. You say, okay, so let's use those 2 numbers out of your date of birth, 1 and 1, and here's another 2 dice. Roll those dice and add that together as well. And it becomes, and it's just about thinking on your feet. Because you don't need to do math in your head. You just need to know. You just need to look at where the ranges are that you need to move them into, and you just need to move them into those ranges, right? Once you've done that, you can then put that new number into the app and type it on the notes page, and it'll tell you exactly what you need to do. So you don't need to think of any math, but using that functionality allows you to see where they are, where you need them to be, and then you're just thinking on your feet to get them to that position, if that kind of makes sense. And that's the same thing that you would do with the crib as well if you didn't want to use the notes page, because the crib works exactly the same way. Yeah, that's it really. It's not a difficult thing to do, and as I say, majority of the time you don't need to move people, but if you do, that's the way you do it. So hopefully that helps, and yeah, good luck. Next question is from Darren Gregg, who says, hi Craig, I was wondering if you knew if there's such a thing as a deck with 52 multiple outs. For example, I love performing Mnemonicosis by Juan Tamariz, which is basically a jazz effect where you don't really know what you're going to do until the spectator names their card. So if they name the first card in my stack, I say I've made a prediction with my deck, and I put the prediction on top of the deck and I get them to turn it over. So far they can name 10 cards, and I have similar outs for those 10, including Colossal Killer by Kent and Nepper. If they name any of the other 42 cards, I'll do some sort of ACAT. So do you use any type of multiple outs when using a mem deck? And as asked at the start, is there such a thing as a 52 multiple out deck, or a book or a DVD that covers this subject? Thanks, Darren. Great question, Darren. There's two things that you want to look into. The first is an app called Maxim that Lloyd Barnes released through Murphy's Magic. Now, Maxim effectively is exactly what you're looking at there. You secretly input the card and the number that they name. So, well, not you secretly input the number they name, the card, and you secretly input. Hang on, let me start this again. Yeah, so you secretly, I don't use Maxim, but I've seen it done many, many times. You input secretly the card at the bottom of the deck, the card that they have named, and the card that they have named. Is that right? Yeah, so you secretly, that's it. You input the card at the bottom of the deck and the card that they have named, right? So there's no numbers to input. Just the card at the bottom of the deck and the card that they have named. So the app then works out where the card is in that position in the deck. So because it knows the bottom card of the deck, and because it knows lots of different stacks, it works with lots of different stacks, and you can add your own stacks in there as well, it means it knows where that card is without you having to do any memory work. It will then tell you what various different options of what you can do in order to reveal that card at that position. And it'll normally give you like 7 or 8 options. And the cool thing is you can build up a bank of information about yourself. You can give a bank of information about the spectator you're performing for. So if you know that you're going to be performing for a wedding, and you know the name of the groom, for example, and you've got some information about the groom, their phone number or their year of birth or their date of birth or stuff like that, it will take all of that into consideration. So it might be that you turn around to the groom and you go, right, okay, it's, what's your date of birth? And they use that to get to the card. But it comes up with even if you don't give it any information like that, it gives you lots of different options. So it might be spell impossible, or do this, or do that. It'll cover multiple different ways of getting a revelation of every single card. And the cool thing is, because you're telling it the bottom card of the deck, the spectator can cut the cards as many times as they want to. They can put the deck on the table and they can name any card, and then you know. And the cool thing is, the spectators don't think that there's a phone in play, because even though there is a phone in play, Lloyd has got lots of different ways to input that information secretly, and also to get the information out of the phone secretly as well. So it's one of those apps where you don't even realize there's an app in play, because it feels like a card trick, but it's giving you the information and everything that you know. So that's the first thing I'd look at, Maxim. The second thing I'd look at is my project Forecast, which I brought out through the 1914. It's a project on the mem deck, and one of the first routines on there is a deck of cards that I created that's a little bit like Maxim, because it's quite funny. I came up with this deck of cards at the same time that Lloyd came up with Maxim. It was independent, but they effectively do the same thing. So I've got a deck of 52 blank cards, and each card has got a different revelation on it. And I have them name a card, and then what happens during the course of the routine is they pick a card from this blank deck, and I point out that this blank deck is blank, but I've written on the other side, and I've worked out 52 ways that I could find your card. So what I want you to do is I want you to pick a card, and they pick one card, but they're effectively getting the force card, and that will be the revelation that I need to get that card revealed that they've named in the deck, if that kind of makes sense. So, and I breathe the crimp the bottom card of the deck, 9 of diamonds in my case, because I use mnemonica. And once they've cut the deck a few times, I just cut at the breather crimp. I then have them name that card, and I bring out this blank deck, and I go, these are the, this is going to be all about you. This is an interactive thing. I can find the card, but I'm going to let you decide how you're going to find the card. And they pick one, and that's the way that we find it, and it will always find that card that they've picked in the deck. So that's an interesting way that you might want to look at it as well. I went through that on Forecast, and I went through every single card. So if you've got a blank deck, you can make that up yourself. Outside of that, that's the only 2 resources I've got for you. Hopefully it helps. If anybody else knows anything, let them know down in the comments. Okay, so the next question is from the Slightco, who says, "Hi Craig, thanks for all that you do. You're more than welcome, and I hope you are well at the Slightco. I love you guys. and there's an unboxing video coming soon, but I've just been very busy with America. Quick question for you this week. What is the book currently sitting on your bedside table? I can tell you, I can show you, because I brought it with me to America to continue reading it. It is the Conover book, specifically the one on magic. That's one I'm reading right now. But the volume 1 of the Conover books, I'm taking my time over these. I got them a little while ago, and I'm taking my time reading them. They are exceptional. So there you go. That's what's on my bedside table right now. The Magic Buzz says, I have a question, sir. How do you keep your tattoos so bright, your coloured tattoos so bright? Do you never wash? It's a little bit offensive, really, to be honest. Yes, I wash and I shower. Fuck you. You fucking prick. Sorry, but I'm sorry. I'm not going to sit here and take some asshole. You call me sir all you fucking want to. I'm not going to take some asshole just going around to me and saying, do I never wash? Go fuck yourself. It's as simple as that. I have them coloured by my friend Kat Stanley to keep them nice and bright. Oh, and yeah, one more thing. Fuck off. Okay, so Punkala says, hi Craig, thanks for all your invaluable feedback on my routine. I appreciate all the points and I'll think about your suggestions. 2 things. 1, I purchased a ticket for the Magic Podcast Convention, but something weird happened during the payment and ended up having to pay twice for one 2-day ticket. I emailed Magic TV last Monday, but I haven't heard anything back. That's weird, because normally we email back straight away. However, having sat in it for a week, I'm thinking that you can keep the extra bit of money if you promise to put it in your legal fund. Everything is going into my legal fund. That's very nice of you, but we should have replied to you, and I'm really sorry that we haven't done. When I get back from the States, I'll look into that. And honestly, you don't have to do that. We're more than happy to give you a refund. I'm very, very sorry about that. That is unacceptable, and I will be speaking to the team. Number 2, speaking of which, there's no shame in asking me for money for a good cause. Could you please ask for donations at the end of each video as well, and add a link in the video description? If you just mention it in the same space where you ask people to subscribe, it's not a big deal. All your campaign needs is exposure, and repetition guarantees that. Wishing you and your family all the best. I do find it very difficult to ask for money, and honestly, this is the most expensive thing I've ever had to do, and it's stressing me out constantly. But I can't bring myself to constantly ask people to support me. It's not kind of my way. But at the same time, it's, I don't know. It's just a difficult situation. I appreciate that. I really do, and I'll take it under advisement. Honestly, thank you so much. Okay, so Handstand says, first, thanks for all the valuable information you share with the Magic community. Your honesty, depth of knowledge, and willingness to break things down so clearly has helped so many of us grow. You're more than welcome. Thank you, my friend. I'm finally looking to learn the egg bag, and I want to start with the right prop and the right teaching source. For magicians who's never worked with different styles and makers, which egg bag do you feel the best in terms of handling, durability, and overall performance quality? For me personally, I use a Bedside Magia egg bag. It's the best one that I've ever found. I know that there's better ones out there. Ryland is currently using one that was given to him by Kieran Lefevre. That's amazing, but they are a lot more expensive. For me, the Bedside Magia egg bags are the absolute best. So I'd go with Bedside Magia, 100%. Also, what instructional video or tutorial would you personally recommend for learning a strong audience-tested routine, and where's the best place to purchase it? I have my egg bag routine on the Netrix, and if you're on the Netrix, you can go and check that out. That's the routine that I actually use. The other really good one is Scott Alexander taught his egg bag routine, and his egg bag routine was taught on a Penguin Holiday special, which I believe is still free. I can't tell you which one, I don't know, but one of them has Scott Alexander teaching his egg bag routine, and it's a phenomenal routine. So it's definitely worth checking out that. If you're wanting to do do the egg bag in kind of more of a walk around setting, then I believe, and I don't think I'm wrong here, Live at the Jailhouse had one of the best close-up egg bag routines that I've ever seen. Live at the Jailhouse was a very old DVD by Cosmo Magic, and it's just phenomenal. It really is. It's well worth learning, well worth picking up. It had a very young Justin Miller on there, along with a bunch of other people, really breaking down restaurant magic. So and who was it? I can't remember the name of the performer. I should do because he's amazing. But there was an incredible performer on there teaching the egg bag, and it's on Dan Tong. That's it, Dan Tong. Dan Tong's egg bag routine. I think it's on live at the jailhouse. Incredible close-up egg bag routine. And I believe Dan's taught it in other places as well. I would go out of your way to look at the Dan Tong egg bag routine because it's brilliant. I really appreciate your guidance, especially since you put so much real time to reviewing and performing classic material. You're more than welcome. Thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Sean Coleman says, good morning, Craig. Thank you for asking Lloyd on the podcast, and I hope you enjoy your time this week at Murphy's. So far, so good. And thank you so much. My question this week is I'd like to start documenting my journey with magic, but as soon as I know a camera is on, my voice changes into this cringy tone and I'm just not watchable. I'm autistic and so a little awkward around new people, but among mates in smaller groups, I'm honestly a fun, outgoing guy. Do you have any advice on how I can try and get this version of me onto camera? Thanks, mate, and sorry for the long question. It's a good question, and speaking on camera is not an easy thing to do. It's really not. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. You might want to reach out to Nemid Phoenix. So Nemid had a real issue when he first started doing YouTube videos of speaking on camera, and that's kind of gone away a bit recently. So more recently, he's become a lot more the Nemid that we know and love. And I know he went on a journey trying to make that happen. So it'd be worth speaking to Nemid. From my point of view, it's really just like anything, you know. How do you get good at magic? You practice. How do you get good at anything? You do it over and over again. Flight time, right? If you look at the first videos I did on Magic TV, they're very, very different to the videos I did now. And I've learned over time how to speak to camera. I've learned over time to try and not be as waffly as I used to be, and I know I'm still waffly and 7-hour tutorials and blah blah blah, but I try my best to eliminate all of the stuff that I didn't like about when I first started producing content. And really that's the most important thing. The most important thing is you have to just flight time. That's all it is. It's, you know, the magic, the video that you put out, you might not like it. You might not like the way that you sound. You might not like the way that you act. You might not like it, but it's a better video for you to put out than just sitting there never putting it out because you're not happy with the end result. It doesn't have to be perfect on YouTube. Just go out there and do it again and do it again and do it again. Stick your camera on, make a video. Look at me. I'm sitting here in a hotel room at 4. Well, it's now, I've been going for an hour and a half. It's now 5:30 in the morning. But you know, I'm still making this video, right? Just start making the videos, and what will happen is you will learn your style over time, and you'll become more comfortable with it. That's the biggest piece of advice I can give you. Okay, so next question is from Splattered, who says, hey Craig, when doing tables or groups, do you do the same routines at each group or do you alternate routines as you go around? Just wonder how you remember what routine you did so not to repeat. Or did you test them? Have I done this before for you? Hope I explained this. It's a bit of a confusing question. Yeah, I have a bunch of different stuff that I do. I'd be bored if I just did the same set over and over again. I take all of the advice and I throw it out the window. So I just kind of make it up depending on the group that I go up to, depending on what I've got with me at the time. And sometimes that can be a problem. Sometimes if I'm doing mix and mingle magic, I do have, what I will say is I have particular routines that I do in mix and mingle, and I have different routines that I do in table magic, right? And a lot of them will cross over, but I'll be making sure that if I've got table magic to do after I've got mix and mingle magic to do, it'll be a completely different set of tricks. So when I'm doing mix and mingle, the groups change anyway. You know, if you're in an event where there's lots of people, the groups are going to change around anyway. So if I go up to a group of people and I go, hey, my name's Craig, I'm the magician, and some of them go, oh, I saw you about 20 minutes ago. I go, brilliant, what did I do? Oh, you did the thing with the coins. Well, let's do a card trick. And I'll pull out a deck of cards, right? So it's not really too much of an issue. With tables, again, it's not an issue because each table is different and they don't move around. So, you know, don't be afraid to ask people, oh, you've seen me before, what did I do? And then just go into something different. So there you go. That's another video in the bag. That's another Q&A in the bag. Do me a favor, let me know what you think in the comments down below. You want to see more videos, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. Also, I'm doing what you said. If you want to support me at all in any way, shape, or form, there is a link that you can use to donate. I don't like asking for money, and if you can't, that's absolutely fine. I'm in the legal battle of my life, and if anybody could support me, that would be great, because the bills are just astronomical, and just mind-blowingly difficult to deal with. But regardless, I'm going to be back tonight at 9 o'clock with another video. And I want to say thank you. Thank you to every single person that supported me and people that continue to support me. The link's down below to donate. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, join the Netrix. It's my online streaming platform for magicians, and I'll see you again. My name's Craig. You're watching Magic